Isn't it so beautiful to be back on your screen? Welcome to Nass Watch, your go-to program for insights into the Nigerian National Assembly. I'm your host, Cynthia Ag. Well, let me start by saying Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. As you know, plenary is yet to commence, but most certainly it gives us the opportunity to review a whole lot, especially with what our lawmakers are up to. Tonight, we are kicking off the year with a look back at 2025's key highlights, breaking down the 2026 budget approved by the National Assembly and discussing the reserved seats for women's bill. Let's dive right in after this short break. Okay, let's start with our 2025 highlights. Now, 2025 was a very eventful year for Nigeria's legislature, from lawmaking to oversight. Let's look at some of the, key things that happens, moments, bills, notable committees, which of course, talking about committees, we'll dive into that. Lawmakers' performance highlight. Now, for some persons, they cannot give their lawmakers a very good percentage. Now, I happen to speak to a couple of people. I want to tell you is that I don't even know who my representatives are. I don't even know what they are doing. If they are present at the chambers during plenary, they don't speak. As a matter of fact, we do have some lawmakers who have never raised their hands to say anything in the chamber, whether you are in the House of Representatives or you are at the Senate. Let's look at some of the images from the National Assembly, talking about the Senate and the reps. So most times you are not even able to evaluate your representative because they don't really say anything when that is happening. But we've had some very vocal people, in 2025, talking about Adams Oshomole, who talked, he talked so much, especially the severe punishments for rape and molestation. He was very vocal about that. We also have some very notable bills talking about the social media bill, cyberbullying rather, the cyberbullying bill that also brought so much happiness to a lot of Nigerians, because if you have not been cyberbullied, trust me, you will not know how exhausting it feels when someone is just, on their keyboard saying things they're not supposed to say, especially when they are not true. So there were strict punishments, for things like that. And those happened in 2025. We also have the drama between Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan of the Kogi Central and, of course, the president of the Senate, talking about Gospel Akpabio. That rocked the entire part of 2025. And as you know, it was not until the end of the year. I'm talking about, I think it was almost entering a new year. That was when we saw a breath of fresh air. Now, not to forget, just to give you a bit of a highlight, because it was a back and forth. She was suspended at some point. But one thing that stood out for me is the fact that despite her suspension, she was very active. And a lot of Nigerians are asking the questions. The amount of items that Senator Natasha Akpoti is able to dish out to her constituency, where is she getting the money from? Is it the same allocation given to her that is given to other representatives? Or is she just, funding this project from her purse? Now, if she's funding this project from her purse, it therefore means that there's probably something she's doing right and is a step in the right direction. And Nigerians are saying, well, every other person should take a cue from this. But away from all of her activities, something interesting happened, because we were thinking, how do we step into 2026 and we're still experiencing the drama between Natasha Akpoti and Gospel Akpabio? And then the pastor preached a message. Well, let's look at this video where the Senate leader did say, the Senate president did say that God touched his mind. Well, was it God? Well, let's hear from this video.
I had almost 9 cases in court against some individuals, against people who defamed me, who lied against me, who slandered my name and all. But listening to the priest, I suddenly realized he was talking to me. So I hereby direct my solicitors to withdraw all lawsuits against them. My dear.
Okay. I hereby direct my solicitors. It was just as easy as that. Now, you need to see the applause, on the social space when that video came out. It was more, I actually watched the video and I told myself, this is quite interesting, but I do hope that we're not going to be hearing something else afterwards. But as a matter of fact, congratulations to both parties. Of course, there are court documents to show. I think we have the documents to show, they are closing up. He's saying, okay, fine, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm discontinuing with the entire process. Well, I hope that both parties would really rest this for good. And whoever the priest is that preached that message that touched the Senate president's heart, I feel like, sir, please don't stop preaching the good word. So a long-standing, scuffle has just ended just like that. And I'm looking forward to 2026. I'm looking forward to them having a great conversation, a great alignment in 2026. But well, like they say, if wishes were horses, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Of course, don't worry. Plenary is going to resume. And there are just ways for you to know if these have been resolved or not. Now, some persons were complaining about the fact that when you go to the chamber, most times Natasha Akwoti raises up her hands to say something, maybe to contribute to a bill, and she's not being recognized. Now, these are the little things that would enable you know if this scuffle has, been taken down. Once plenary resumes, we'll be right there, and of course we give you all of the details. Now, talking about some of the performances of 2025, a lot of people were not satisfied with how the National Assembly handled certain issues, be it the Senate or the House of Reps, especially when it comes to budget issues, and as well talking about the bow and go. That was a major controversy, especially when one of the ministers decided to, he was caught in a bubble. I wouldn't want to go into that. But this particular evening, we do have a number of things to talk about, which, of course, the budget analysis. Now, the National Assembly recently approved the 2026 budget, and I'm going to have my guest who is going to be joining us to talk about a number of these issues. Some of the things we're talking about is the budget analysis. He's also going to be talking about a review of 2025 and what we are to expect in 2026. He's going to be talking about the budget allocation highlights, the priorities for 2026, challenges and prospects, a whole lot of things. And we're going to be looking at the reserve seats for women's bill. That on its own is a huge conversation, because this is the year that we get to vote for the reserve seats for women. But I would like to pause here so I can introduce my guests. I have Dr. Khalifa Abbas, who's joining me virtually to have this conversation. I don't know if he's right there. Good evening, Dr. Khalifa.
I can hear you. Good evening. How are you?
I am very well. Interesting. Happy New Year once again.
Happy New Year to you.
Well, I hope you have all the meats that you had from the festive season.
Yeah, we thank God for you.
All right. So we're talking about a number of things. This is our first episode for the year, and I'm so happy to be having you, join me to look at a review of 2025, talking about the activities of the National Assembly, and of course, our prospect for 2026. What are the things we're looking forward to? But let me just give a brief highlight of the 2026 budget. That was sent to the National Assembly and it was approved. And a lot of Nigerians actually did complain about that. Let's look at the slides on the screen so that you can join us in the entire process. Let's look at the slide on the screen. So the theme of the budget that was presented is actually titled Budget of Consolidation, Renewed Resilience, and Shared Prosperity, where the president did present this budget. That was in December last year. And let's look at some of the breakdown of the figures, which he said that the key message is that the budget is not a budget of promises. It is a budget of consolidation, renewed resilience, and shared prosperity. And We will spend the purpose, manage debt with discipline, and ensure that growth translates into improved living standards for every Nigeria. Now, the sweetest part of it is the breakdown for me, which I think that the house was supposed to do a good job, in breaking down. But since we didn't really see that happening, let's look at it, right here on the show. So the overview of the budget is about the total expenditure is about 58.18 trillion, which of course our total revenue 34.33 trillion. Capital expenditure is also right there on the screen, 26.08 trillion. Recurrent expenditure, we have a deficit, we have our exchange rate assumption, which is about 1,400 to a dollar. Oil benchmark 64, $64.85 per dollar per barrel. Let's move to the next slide, where we have the focus area of the budget, which I also would want you to talk about, so we can know if we really channeled our attention to the right places. He talked about improve business and investment environment to promote job-rich growth and reduce poverty, strengthen human capital, and protect the vulnerable. That is the key highlight. Now, on security and peace building, which we all know that security is a big deal, for us right here in Nigeria. He talked about 5.41 trillion naira allocated to defense and security, and a launch of the new national counter-terrorism doctrine. Any armed group operating outside state authority will be classified as terrorists. Now, focus on technology-driven policing, intelligence, and community peace building. That is on that. Now, he also mentioned the aspect of education and human capital. So before we go into, let's break down education, then we can now go back to the beginning, which is, for the three major highlights, and then security and the like. So for education and human capital, we talked about 3.52 trillion allocated to education, 480 to be students supported through the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, that is the NEL Fund, in partnership with 223 tertiary institutions. Talked about 6% of total budget allocated to healthcare, with about $500 million in grants for health intervention. Now let's pause there. Let's come to Dr. Khalifa Abbas. What is your overview, first of all, of the National Assembly review of the year 2025, sets of activities and the bills that they passed, the deliberations they made at the floor of the House?
Well, to my notice, this proposed bill that was submitted for it to be passed, on a written budget, you have this too much of hope for a better country, for a better solution, for a better situation. Always it's that how it appears when submitting the budget. But it's when it comes to the implementation of it that we'll be having problems. Because, okay, they budgeted such amount of money for all the things they budgeted. But how sure are we that they're actually going to actualize what they said it to be? That is the main problem with Nigeria and our representatives at the National Assembly. They bring budgets and give us hope and make people to start thinking of a new life, a new hope, a new situation, a new environment when it comes to security challenges and everything. But at the end of the day, we are at this stage of the beginning stage. And that is where my concern lies, because in as much as we can talk about this budget and talk about how much we're spending and how much the government are actually trying to do a good job for a betterness of the country, but we still have to talk about these same people that they were there in last assembly. You understand my point? They were there 2 years ago. So what changes do you expect for them to bring it now? So we talked about this particular issue, I think last year, but with Happy New Year to all of us. I hope maybe by now, yes, by people like us complaining and advocating for a betterness of the country, maybe some of them are listening, and maybe some of them are going to actually use it in a good sense, in a way that to actually develop their communities and make sure they are passing the good bills for the betterness of the people.
All right, so let's now move on to let's look at see how we can dissect some aspects of the budget. Even though a lot of Nigerians felt like, oh, you were going to scrutinize the budget more. I was watching. Okay, so something dramatic happened. On the day that the president, brought the budget to the House. Of course, it was a full House where they had a joint meeting, which of course happens once in a while on special occasions. And it was so surprising that we're hearing, on your mandate, we shall stand. On your mandate, I don't want to sing it, so let me just recite it like a school child. On your mandate, we should stand. I'm putting it in quote now. On a mandate, we should stand. And I was a bit embarrassed because how can a song like that be rendered in our National Assembly, on the floor of our National Assembly? One would think that we're having maybe an association meeting and we were doing the anthem. So, I mean, I'm a bit bothered. I don't know about you, Dr. Khalifa. Maybe you want to walk us through what's your thoughts, because this is what they're showing us, and they say when a person shows you a thing, you have to believe them. So this is what they're showing us, and so for we as the everyday Nigerians, we're a bit worried. And then they brought the budget, the president was praised, and there was no proper scrutiny. What do you think would have been done differently, to really dissect the budget, before you start, passing anything? And then we're also going to look at some of the allocations, if it was properly done. Let's start with that. What's your overall thoughts regarding to the budget presentation?
Well, one thing you have to understand very, very carefully is for you to understand that 99% of our politicians, whether they're actually in APC or PDP or any party that they are actually joining, the only thing they care about is how to get re-elected, is how to be in power, is how to make sure they are going to be among the people that will return to that particular house in the next assembly. So I don't think, I always say this, and not because I have any issue with any of them, but I don't see Nigerians are at their heart of whatever they are deciding. So when you say you saw them singing on your mandate, we stand, it's because that is what they stand on. And any support they can actually get, yes, I'm saying, and any support they can actually get from the president for their election, irrespective of their political parties, that is all they're after. And like politics, see, one thing about here, Cynthia, if you want to talk about politics, it's a different ballgame, it's a different conversation. If you want to talk about National Assembly and what happened when it comes to the submission of the budget, then we can go ahead and talk about that. But if you want to talk about politics or what politicians do, it's what you saw in front of you. Because how can a country of this kind of country that we have so much problem about insecurities, about foreign governments trying to interfere in our businesses, some other people that want to come to Nigeria and help Nigeria, and some other government that want to come to Nigeria and escort from Nigeria. And all of these things are happening, and what our own members are singing is on your mandate that we stand. What mandate is that? What is there for us to celebrate?
I think one of
as a country, as a nation.
One of the questions I think I need to ask my next guest from the House is going to be, on what mandate are we standing on at this point?
That is the point. People are dying. People are hungry. People are out of school. So what are we celebrating among them? I'm not proud to even say these things. I'm not proud to even see. Sometimes about people like us that we come online to talk about things that are happening. It's not only because we are happy or we are celebrating what is happening. We are not happy at all to even mention all these things that I'm listening. But it is happening. You cannot deny it. Whether you say it out or not, people are dying. Whether you say it out or not, people are hungry and people are out of school and people are facing poverty every single day. So what are they doing to actually elevate those solutions or those situations? So what are we celebrating? What mandate are we standing? So if you come to them closely, all they are actually after is how they can get the election or how they can move from a senator to a governor or from a governor to a senator. And whatever the president brings, they will dance to his table. And that is one thing that pains me a lot when it comes to such conversations, because you can't even point out and say this and this person are actually there because they believe or because they want to uplift people's lives, or they want to save lives, or they want to actually upgrade people's life in their communities. You can't even list any of them that you are sure of. You might hope some of them are doing it. I'm not saying any of them or none of them are doing it. That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is a lot of them are just there because of their ambition, personal ambition, not public ambition, not public service, not for the people, for themselves and for their families. And I think it's one of this situation as this situation is happening. I think it's actually something very good for the masses to use against the next election, as we're going into an election next year. Right, and they're going to start campaigning this year. So all you're supposed to be doing is to start asking them, what have they done from the moment you voted for them and until this moment? What did they bring new to you? If there is nothing new that they actually brought as an advancement to your community or to what they are presenting, so why are you going to vote them again? What for?
I just remember something, Dr. Khalifa. You were supposed to give me your representative and senator for me to interview on the show. Why are you holding him? Why are you holding your senator or your representative?
I am not holding them. I'm not holding them. I am only advocating for them to see that we from their constituencies are actually complaining about what they're doing, and we need them to actually do better. We're not complaining because we're against them.
I hear he's not doing a good job.
Maybe not. To some people, yes. To some people, no. So maybe to me, I would say I expected better.
Would you want me to mention his name, Dr. Khalifa?
If you want to, you can go ahead. I'm not the one mentioning names here.
I would like for you to mention him yourself. But no, don't worry. One of these days, we're going to have him on the show. And of course, maybe he will get to explain better, because when you have, when you have people who do not think that you are representing them well in whatever capacity, that should be a concern. Let's dive right back to the breakdown of the budget. Do you think that much attention was given to the key issues in the budget, talking about education, talking about healthcare, talking about security, which of course is a big deal for us, and also beyond the allocation? Do you trust that whatever is going to be allocated, or whatever is allocated, is going to be channeled properly? Because there are two things involved here: allocation being enough versus utilizing. I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay. First of all, I think the major issue we are having, or the major focus that should be focused on, I think it's insecurity. I think that's the most important thing in our situation nowadays, because without security, there is nothing that can work at all. Not the government, not other aspects of life that you get to live with. But I think maybe we can, to be fair to them, we can say they are trying their best in terms of the allocation, in terms of allocating what they allocated. But when it comes to whether we are sure it's actually going to be put into a good job, that's a question that we should be praying for God to answer for us, because nobody can give you that particular answer. Because nobody can assure you that this is what, because let me tell you something. I was talking to some people. I said, people are accountable of what they do, not because they have too much faith in God. You understand my point? People can be accounted because of a system, because of a good system of the organization or the government organizations. System makes you to be accountable. So when the system doesn't have any punishable actions on people that hold offices, when it's come to them not doing the good job, then we are having a problem. So you can go back to what they did yesterday, or how they allocated the budget last budget, and what did they do with those particular budgets. That's the only way you can actually testify to what you hope to see on this particular budget. You cannot give assurance of anything, because there was nothing that assured you on the last budget. That was completely done for you to say, yes, I am satisfied by the 2025 budget, for you to even come to 2026. So you have to look back and see, what did they do and how did they do it? Have they completed all the allocation and all the budgets they budgeted for things that they said they wanted to do? Did they do it right or not? If they haven't done it right, then how do you expect them to do it now? What changes?
Okay.
Same people. Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to go on a very short break because we do have a number of things to touch on, which, of course, beyond the breakdown of the budget, we also, which, of course, when I come back, we're just going to, go through the remaining slides of the budget breakdown so that everyday Nigerian can, be able to grasp what it is. And then afterwards, when we come back, we'll talk about concerns that are, rising up from the number of seats, the number of committees that we have at the National Assembly. Now, some places are already hinting that we have too many committees, and I'll give a breakdown of the committees as compared to other countries of the world. It seems as if Nigeria's National Assembly have more than just enough committees. Well, all this and more, alongside with the reserve seats for women bill, we will touch on that right after this break. It's Nass Watch, don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. It's still Nass Watch, and of course, I still have my guest, Dr. Khalifa Abbas. He's a public affairs analyst who's joining us virtually to look at prospects for the new year 2026 as regard the National Assembly's activities and, of course, the highlights of 2025. Now, before we go on that break, we're talking about, breaking down the remaining part of the 2026 budget. So let's have that back on the screen. Let's look at the remaining breakdown of the 2026 budget and what is getting what, which is getting which. Can we have that back on the screen? All right, so for security and peace building, this is 5.41 trillion allocated to defense and security, focus on technology-driven policies, intelligence and community peace building. Next one, and we also have for education and human capital, 6% of total budgets allocated to healthcare with $500 million in U.S. grants for health interventions. Next slide. We have infrastructure and economic productivity. Now, this one is going to be having 3.56 trillion for infrastructure development, emphasis on transportation, transport, energy, agriculture, and ports modernization, investment in food security, irrigation, mechanization, and agro-industrialization. Next. And for fiscal discipline and revenue mobilization, we're having 18.6 trillion revenue achieved, and of course 61% of 2025 target. And it goes on and on and on. Social priorities, which we see that 2.48 trillion for healthcare, continued investment in social protection for the most vulnerable, and stronger focus on job creation and inclusive growth. Now, I am so focused on job creation because we do have a lack of job in Nigeria as it stands. Well, some might want to argue that it's not about the jobs, it's about the people to do the job. But wherever you stand, I do believe that we have a lack of job. We have a job deficit, like those in the economic sector would want to put it. Let's run away from budget breakdown and let's talk about the number of committees that we do have in our National Assembly. Now, presently, it is being said that we have the highest committees. I mean, when you look at it all around the world, it looks as though we have the highest numbers. And so we have Senate Committee on Appropriation, Air Force, Health, Environment, Capital Market, Ethics. Now, even at the House of Reps level, we also have House Committee on Anti-Con, National Ethics and Value, House Committee on Air Force, a whole lot of House committees, Committee on Water Resources, and now we have House of Assembly, which is the Joint Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development, Joint Committee on Labor and Productivity. Now, let me give you a breakdown from what you're seeing on the screen. Let me help us in breaking that down. Now, this particular breakdown was, this particular investigation was brought to light by Plaque, and He did say that there are some standing committees, which of course is in normal climes is not a problem. And so the multiple standing committees using around 4 to 6 balancing departmental oversight with legislative duties. And though the exact numbers varies and leadership roles, actually do vary from committee to committee. And of course, the House has many committees. Now, in the 10th Senate, we do have, the 10th Assembly rather, we have about 89. Now, members are assigned to several with leadership positions like chair and, of course, deputy. Now, Nigeria versus the global comparison. If you look at your screen, you will see the chart there. Nigeria versus the global comparison. You will see that for Nigeria, the 8th Assembly, talking about 2015 to 2019, the Senate had 69 69 at the Senate and 95 at the House of Reps. That is for the committees. Now, in the 9th Assembly, talking about 2019 to 2023, the Senate had 69 and the House of Reps had 109. Okay, and then in the 10th Assembly, which is 2023 till now, we have 86 and the House of Reps has 237. Dr. Khalifa, are you there? So presently we have 237 for the House of Reps and 86 for the Senate. Now, these are the number of committees that we have presently as compared to other countries of the world. So let me now give a breakdown of other countries. Like in the United States, for example, right? We do have the House of Representatives has 20 and the Senate has 16. Talking about in their own 8th term, do you get in their own 8th assembly? That is which is of course we can call theirs from 117th Congress, 2021 to 2023. That's that's the number they had, and in 2023 to 2025, the House of Representatives had 20 and the Senate had 16. And presently, 2025, which is of course going to be to 2027, the Reps has 20 and the Senate has 16. So I mean, now in India, let's look at, I mean, if you can put the chat back on the screen so that some persons can get to see. So it doesn't look like we're just bringing out numbers, Now, in India, they have 24 standing committee, and they have had 24 standing committee since 2014 till date. And it is going to remain that way till 2029. When we look at the UK has 37, 27, 37, 27, 37, 27 from the year in view. Do you get? So we could go on and on. Even in South Africa, has 38 portfolio committees and 6 permanent standing committees. So when we now come to Nigeria, we are counting numbers. 86 at the Senate, 200 plus at the House of Reps. I mean, Dr. Khalifa, is this not concerning to us? What are we using all of these committees to do?
To make money. We're using it to make money. Or am I the only one that is thinking of that?
I mean,
we're using it to make money. And that's all I can say, because I'm not saying that it's not actually important to have committees. What I'm saying is, how do you have 237, if I'm getting it right, and other countries like US have 18 and 20, 18 and 20, and as big as they are, as big as what they do, what do we do compared to them? So, to say the truth out, I think the committees are actually too many. Without you listening to the committees of other countries, I wouldn't even know that we are having too many. as you mentioned, because I think that's how a country is supposed to run, by having a lot of committees in their national assemblies.
Okay, so don't you think that these committees are going to be serving as a form of distraction? Because I mean, these are some of the concerns. If the committees are too many, it's going to reduce the lawmakers' focus, on key issues, because many of them have to serve in multiple committees. They have to serve in multiple capacity. So this takes away a certain level of attention that is to be given to very serious issues.
Yes. Sorry, come again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So don't you think this too many committees takes the attention of the members, because they have to serve in different capacities to fill up the space in the different committees? Don't you think that this is a huge distraction and something should be done about it?
Well, what do you think can be done about it?
That's what I'm asking you.
I don't think anything can be done. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to make a point. I don't think anything can be done about it now. That they have gotten used to every single thing about committees, and how many committees do we have, and for how many people to be in different committees. The committees are important to help the National Assembly regulate or focus on a particular situation based on the committees they are creating. But I don't think it's actually a distraction to them, because when they are campaigning, do you know how many years it takes for a member to campaign before you get to a seat there? Do you know how many years and how many commitments and how many meetings and how many committees they actually create if they are campaigning to be in that particular seat? So I don't think it's actually too much for them. Only if they actually want to do what they are there to do. If they are there to actually do a good job, they can do it with the committees.
Are you sure,
I don't think the committees
that they can do a really good job? Because from what I see here, there's going to be overlapping oversight, and of course, the duties are going to strain the MDAs. And then we're going to also have issues of, more committees means a higher cost, more staff, and they're going to stretch. I mean, come on, we're talking about spending so much money.
When you asked me about why do we have more committees, what did I tell you? Because they're making money. That's the first thing I told you, because that is what it is. Money is being spent. But I'm not talking because I'm against the committees. But the question I'm answering is when you talk about whether the job is actually too much for them as a tax. And that's what I'm saying. The tax is not too much for them, because they know how to carry a higher tax before getting here. So that shouldn't be a reason for them not to do a good job, because they are attached to other committees. Okay, not that I'm saying the committees are a good thing to keep.
If you're putting it this way, I mean, as we get set to wrap up, right? If you put it this way, I can't help but wonder, asking the fact that some of these committees are almost useless. Like some of these committees, we don't even hear anything about them. Some of these committees, they can be merged. They can all be merged. I mean, I see some of the committees right here, and I do really think that some of them can be merged to reduce. It's just the name, it's just a breakdown. I do believe that some of them can be merged together to form one, and these people still serve.
They know that more than we do. They know it can be merged. They know it's too much, but they are making money out of the committees being created.
So do you think it's time for Nigerians to start speaking about reduction of the committees? Don't you think it's something we should have to start talking about, becoming more vocal about?
It's very high time to start talking about reducing a committee, but it's a high time to start speaking about human lives being lost in some of the states, because that is the most important thing to me, like I told you. So we can talk about committees being reduced, but the main thing to talk about is how to stop killing people and how to stop doing politics with people's lives. I think that's where we should focus on.
Yeah, I agree with you. Security is a big deal. And of course, all over the world, everyone is concerned about security, protecting lives and property.
Because one thing, sorry, let me make a point. You know why I keep on repeating about security issues? Because all these things we are mentioning about National Assembly, about the budget, about the committees, all these things can actually start making sense when I can comfortably think straight. And I cannot be thinking straight when I'm scared of somebody coming to attack me on my way home. When I think of how I'm losing my families every single day from other attacks, either banditry or Boko Haram or kidnappers along the way. So we can do a lot better as a country if we are all safe and without having any issues. But in as long as we are having these issues going forward, we don't think about all these issues, about committees, about the budget, about the cost of the budget, because all we want is to live. And if we are not allowed to live, then we are not allowed to think.
Okay.
So that's why I keep on bringing the issue of the security back and forth, because I want people that are watching to understand the necessary importance of this conversation.
All right, let's very quickly run, before we get set to wrap up, let's very quickly hear your thoughts. What do you think about the reserve seats for women bill? The vote is going to be passed, this year. I mean, it has been a huge conversation. Constitutional review has also been a huge conversation for last year and now. And so, I mean, women from different parties and different areas are coming together to talk about the reserve seats for women's bill, which has been a very huge conversation. And now this year, people are already voting, for the special seats for women. What are your thoughts as to this bill? Do you think it is something that is going to scale through? They have done their groundwork. They have pleaded their case. They have given all the reasons why we need to have the reserve seats for women. We've talked about, I think, a couple of times last year on the show. But from where you stand, do you think that this is going to scale through? Do you think this is going to get the much vote that it desires? And do you think that it is necessary for us to have reserve seats for women, for any position that they want to run for, or there should just be a level playing ground where men and women can come together and just, fight it out, when it comes to election matters? What are your thoughts?
When we talk about reserve seats for women, do we mean that in the process of election, men should actually allow women to run for the seats when it comes to elections?
What is simply
Now, I want to understand still before giving the answer.
Well, I do know you understand what we're saying, but let me just break it down. I know you do understand it, but yeah, the reserve seats have all been clamoring about the fact that, we just want to have a certain level of seats and said, okay, this one is for the women, and not have to start dragging, and it's going to be in all, in all positions. That is what it's asking for.
In all positions, or in all political positions, or in all
political positions, of course. Political positions.
We should allow the seat for them without them fighting for it.
This is the man in you speaking now. We should allow the seat for them, Dr. Khalifa.
Well, okay, the point is, women are almost better leaders when it comes to leading. That I can tell you. Okay. When a woman said, I want to do it, she do it right. And she do it without hesitation. Like, she put her heart to it. Because women deal with emotions, and they do everything from their hearts. So if they want to be truthful, they know how to be truthful. And if they want to lie, they know how to lie. So what I'm saying is, I am not talking about this because I'm against women's leadership. I believe in women leadership, but we're in democracy. And democracy allows everybody to run for an office, irrespective of gender. So if women want to vote, or want to be part of the political process, they should join the queue, because a lot of people are on the queue for so long. So you cannot tell me I'll ask them now. I will ask the men to step down because we want to allow women to start running for seats. So I think some of them that have joined the queue ever since, they are making it right. They have positions now in the National Assembly. You can see a lot of them. In the Senate, you can see a lot of them too. So I think we shouldn't make it an issue about to reserve a seat for them, because we are now giving them a more speciality of a human being, and it's not supposed to be that. We said equal, we are equal, Abby. We are equal, so we should be equal. We should run for seats.
Are you asking me? I can't answer that.
You can't answer that. You are a human, so you want the seat to be reserved for you?
It's not my place to speak on that. It's for you.
You are speaking for women today, so you speak for it.
I'll sit on the fence.
Well, I think they can keep on agitating. I'm not saying they shouldn't. If it's actually a good cause to do, maybe they will have a time. They will have that bill to be passed.
Okay.
But until then, we are on ground together.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. And we don't have much time anymore. I would have asked you, what are your projections for this year? What are the things you're looking forward to for the National Assembly this year in terms of bills, motions, conversations, dialogue, whatever it is they want to talk about? Just 1 minute. Let me hear your thoughts as we finalize.
This particular year, you will hear a lot of people that were not speaking before. They will start speaking now as members of the National Assembly or the Senate because they are looking for the next election. So I don't think anything they're going to do now will actually be the reason why we should vote for them again or not, because we have to now check from the day they started until the day they are finishing, what have they done through the 4 years they were given. That is how we can actually decide on who to actually represent us in the next coming election. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Khalifa Abbas, Public Affairs Analyst, for joining
us so much for having
to have
me.
this conversation. It's a great conversation for the beginning of the year. Happy New Year once again.
Happy New Year to you too. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And that's a wrap for this episode of Nass Watch. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, join us next time for a very insightful conversation. And of course, once the plenary resumes, we will start having your representatives, right here on the show. You know how we always be trying to talk to them to hear their thoughts on burning national issues that are being discussed at the floor of the House. Don't forget that a repeat will come to you on Sunday at 7. And of course, a fresh episode will come to you next week, Friday. My name is Cynthia Agbo. The news comes up shortly.